So this evening's presentation is Home Sweet Home, What Will Be Our New Normal? Now more than ever, homes are a refuge. We're spending more time in them. So we want to welcome Susan Brunstrum, Joan Craig, Jessica Lagrange, and Kim Scodro for a discussion about what they see on the horizon of architecture and interior design, and how these challenging times have changed and will continue to change and how we design our homes. So I'm going to first let our panel members introduce themselves quickly. We will start with Jessica Lagrange to give a brief overview, and we'll go through everyone before we kind of dive in here. So go ahead, Jessica. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Jessica Lagrange here. I've been an interior designer for over 30 years in Chicago. Started my own firm about 22 years ago. I started out doing commercial work, and now I'm doing all residential work. We have an office of 8 people here in Chicago on Chicago Avenue, and love what we do. It's really fun. I think what we're proud about is we don't have a particular style. It's really understanding about what the client is about and how they live their life. I've been a longtime WAC member, which has been a highlight in my life. I've been a member there for about 25 years, served on the board, and met so many and made so many wonderful relationships there. So I really value the WAC and value my friends there. I'm also head of your decorating committee, and Joan is also part of it, and she is the architect and designer that we have working on all our wonderful renovations. So I'm proud to be involved in that as well.
Great. Kim?
Oh, hi, I'm Kim Scodro. I have a firm in Chicago, and we have 7 people. We have a great team, one that is based in Arizona because we do a lot of work there, not just happened to happen that way. I have been a designer for 13 years. I feel like I'm half of everything that Jessica said. I've been a designer for 13 years. I've only been a member at the WAC for 3 years. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love what Joan did in the members lounge. I was lucky enough to not see the old one, but came in with the new one, and it's gorgeous. And we do a lot of residential work, mostly residential work. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Welcome, welcome. Joan?
Hi, Joan Craig. So nice to be here. I've gotten to know many of you through our work at the WAC over the past, I guess it's been about 7 years or so. We began working in the lower level with the locker rooms, and we worked in the members lounge and the 5th floor, and we're hoping at some point soon we'll start working on the powder room for the 2nd floor. I'm an architect and designer. We've got offices in New York and in Chicago, and we do largely residential and club work.
Great, welcome. Susan?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I too have a residential firm. I've been in the business for 17 years, so about half of Jessica's. And as one of the co-program chairmen this year, I'm thrilled that y'all think that this would be a wonderful panel discussion to have. I feel like I'm a diplomatic connector of dots, and that I have an inner-outer approach to both my life and work. And I love problem solving. It gives me joy. And I feel as though I don't ever aim for I can't talk tonight. I don't ever aim for did it again. I don't ever aim for perfection, because I can't say the word. And I just don't think it's a reality. What I'm hoping to do in the near future is that we can all work together and change the narrative of design, so it becomes something that everyone understands and values and respects. And I think we're seeing that that's going to happen, and we're going to talk about that. And that's a shift of emphasis from strictly aesthetics and beauty within our homes to something else. And that's what we're going to talk about. So thank you, Beth.
Wonderful. Welcome. Well, welcome to the 4 of you ladies. Thank you so much for joining me here today for this discussion. So let's dive right in. So during the stay-at-home guidelines, the rooms in our home served many purposes, right? The kitchen counter also served as a workspace, and the bedroom may have served as a workspace too, and a kid's play area and school and kind of everything in between. So how do we use design to delineate multiple uses in one room? Who wants to take that one? Joan?
Sure. You know, I think the question of how all of our needs are met in a home is the single biggest challenge for architects and designers during the pandemic. I mean, how do we live, teach, work, socialize? How do we exercise, entertain, connect, collaborate, focus, in addition to eating, sleeping, washing? And it seems like the key to doing that at home is flexibility, adaptability, resiliency. And the program, I'd say, for every home is very different. For a home that has young children, we can imagine something like a split shift where time becomes a design element, and we've got maybe a mother working with the children in one room while the father is in a quiet area for the morning. And then the afternoon, maybe the father takes over teaching or playing with the kids. The mother uses the other room. So time really becomes a delineator in how we use our spaces. And I think the biggest challenge for many has been, how do we use our space to work? And for some people, they've found, we have one client, a couple, who found that they really enjoy working together, much to their surprise. She's in design and he's in finance, and they sit at one big partner's desk, and they've learned a lot more about each other and how they spend their days and how they work together. And obviously the easiest way of dealing with the challenge of working at home and dealing with the pandemic is having separate spaces. I mean, in our house, for instance, we have 3 adults who are working now. My husband prefers having a sense of enclosure, so he works in his office and can close the door and surrounded by his favorite things. My son is in the library and he just sort of spreads out all over the place. And I found that unless I'm drawing, I don't need a desk, and I'd rather work right here in our living room and have views and light and people coming in and out, and really making great use of this space that also is a yoga studio in the morning and a cocktail lounge at night. So it's sort of doing double duty. But the thing I think is going to be most interesting is when we get beyond this, how the pandemic shapes, for instance, the market and developer homes. Will people go back to finding large open spaces very appealing, or are they going to want more closely defined rooms and separate rooms?
I'm
Yeah,
going to add
that'll be interesting.
little tip there. I think something that people can do that maybe don't have big spaces is find furniture or way to delineate their spaces. You know, maybe the living room has a bookshelf put down the center so you can separate spaces at least visually. So furniture, you know, maybe the way you arrange your furniture can be a good way of trying to share space now.
Sure. So Jessica, how do you think design will change after staying at home for so many months?
Well, I think this is not about design, it's changing our world, first of all. I think this is going to be along the lines of the Great Depression or World War II. I mean, this isn't just a little blip in the screen, but our worlds have changed dramatically, and I think history will show that. But I think where we've really leapfrogged in this whole thing is technology. I think we're really far, I'd say 5 years ahead of where we may have been had this not happened. And technology, the way we use our rooms, from Zoom to Microsoft Teams to FaceTiming, I think you need to find greater private space in your homes. You know, you've got to make those calls. You've got to find a space that you look good in, that, you know, you have a background in, that the lighting is there. I don't think this is ever going to go away. People are going to work from their homes more, maybe not all the time, but they're going to be working from home a lot, I think. And as a luxury designer, we need to help, you know, integrate these spaces into their homes. I think another point that's going to change a lot is people are going to want healthier homes in terms of antimicrobial materials, from textiles to wall coverings to floorings. I think people are going to start asking for that. They exist now, but they're somewhat limited in the luxury design market. So I think we still have a ways to go. You know, there's some good fabrics, but I'm not sure we're finding great carpets or wall coverings. And I think people may be asking for that. The last point I want to make is that people are now going to be more concerned about the caliber of their spaces. I think they're spending more time in their homes, and they're going to want high quality items. Maybe it's, you know, it's worth investing into a great sofa right now, somewhere that you're going to be sitting forever. Maybe it's that high quality mattress you passed up on last time. But luxury pieces that can be passed down. So I think you're going to change the way you spend your money and think about your spaces. This is changing our world.
So Jessica, you touched on the healthy home being accelerated by this pandemic. and I think it's top of mind now more than ever with the search for everything from Clorox wipes to cleaners and kind of everything in between. But again, just living and spending more time in there. So what is wellness? And maybe Susan, you want to take this one. What is wellness and how is it incorporated into the home?
Yep, happy to do that. Well, I had to look up wellness because I wanted to know the difference between healthy and wellness. And according to the Global Wellness Institute, wellness is the active pursuit of choices, activities, and lifestyles that lead to a state of holistic health. So what does that mean actually? It means that we incorporate 6 different dimensions: the physical, the mental, the emotional, the social, the spiritual, and the environmental. And those 6 encompass wellness. So from a physical perspective, what is that? That's our nutrition, that's our exercise, that's our sleep. That's right up a designer's alley. We're talking kitchens, bathrooms, bedrooms, right? And maybe home gyms. From a mental perspective, that's engaging our mind. Again, that's something that as designers we have to deal with. That's finding, as Jessica mentioned, private spaces. From an emotional perspective, that's sort of expressing and accepting our feelings and understanding others. Those are the other people that live within your home if there's more than one of you. The social aspect of it is connecting and engaging. And I think, again, the pandemic has showed us there, and Jessica, you got to this as well, is are you living alone and you're fighting loneliness, or are you a whole family and you don't have enough time alone within your own home? So there's 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. And then spiritual, of course, it's sort of searching for our meaning. And I think we've all had a little, we've all had some thoughts on that during our time at home. And then last, of course, is the environmental piece of it. And that really is our built environment, and then external with the environment, the planet. And again, as designers, we really need to think about not just the built environment, but what's around it. So I really feel as though we have an opportunity here, and again, as others have said, to kind of rethink our homes and be part of this wellness solution.
Mm-hmm. I also want to add a little bit. I think you're going to see more what you call touchless technology in the homes. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see HVAC systems being totally redone and, you know, more, what do you call, air purifying, air cleaning. I already have clients asking for that. So state of the art.
And the same with water. I mean, I think particularly on the heels of Flint, Michigan, we're seeing a lot more interest in terms of water monitoring and wellness for that.
Great point. What about mental health standpoint? You touched on a little bit, Susan, but what are some thoughtful ways to bring a sense of well-being into our homes from the mental standpoint? Kim, do you have any insight to offer there?
Well,
I think stock up on the wine, girls, right? Stock up on the wine.
That's point number 1.
Literally.
Let's start there. Get a wine cooler in your fridge.
Everybody approaches it differently, but we all look at it initially, what is comfort for us? And for me, it's organization, it's cleaning things out, it's purging. The moment this happened, I was like crazy cleaning things out because that gave me a sense of order, a sense of something I had control over. And I think that a very basic start to all of this before you venture anywhere else, you know, I mean, there's a saying, you can't put lipstick on a pig. It's true. You cannot just keep buying lovely pieces of furniture if you have not fixed that core mental stability of having a clean, organized home to even figure out what you need and what you want. And so I think purging, organizing, looking at what you truly want and what is important to you, I think that everyone will find that since this has started, people are much more authentic, soul searching in what they really want rather than quick, make a decision, let's go get it ordered. I mean, people are taking the time because we have the time finally to figure out what makes us happy, what we want to do in our space, whether or not we like this color or that color and what's comfortable. But I think organizing your immediate surroundings, it's the age-old story, the person that has their exercise bicycle in their bedroom, as you know, many people did when they didn't have the space, and they're hanging clothes on it. And then you go to bed at night stressed out because you didn't work out again, or having your office in your bedroom and you realize I have piles of things I haven't done. How can I peacefully sleep? So organizing things, clearing things out, it's that fine line between us wanting to have clean spaces versus stark, warm spaces versus things that are cluttered, and also having things that are scary now to let go of. Because it's such a trying time, we don't know, we feel a little scared. I feel a little scared to get rid of things that I know are comfort to me and made me happy. But we just have to bite the bullet and do it.
Don't you think, Kim, that at least I'm finding, being in my home more, that I'm liking less around me?
Yeah.
Again, I agree, not stark, but I don't need as much because it feels confining, or like I'm closing, there's too much there for me to look at and deal with, and I'm liking the less is more.
Yeah.
It's always been that way, but more so now than ever.
Those filler pieces that you bought, or we have clients that have bought and they want to, they're like, oh, we're going to put this here until we find something great. 10 years later, we're like, we haven't really addressed it. It was fine. It'll be fine. And now I don't feel like, you know, I need to do that. I don't feel that's important.
So what other new in design that addresses wellness in the home? Any other new design trends? Jessica, you talked about the touchless you think becoming bigger in HVAC. Anything else that you guys are thinking is on the horizon to address wellness?
I think just making your homes more comfortable. It's funny, some of these things that are coming out these days are so modern in design, all of these new technology and everything. I think we need to design things that people feel comfortable with in their homes. I'm not sure we're there yet. But everything, a lot of this new wellness stuff is very contemporary. Maybe it needs to be designed more traditionally. I don't know. So I think you just need to make your house comfortable and make people feel safe there.
I do think the Lutron Tetra line is really cool. This is products that mimic circadian rhythms. So they mimic daylighting and how light changes from outside into your home. And it's a cool thing. And in response to what you were saying, Jessica, I mean, it's something that can apply in a very traditional home or one that is very, very modern. But I think it's a very cool idea, and we're going to see a lot more of it.
So we have a live question here about kind of tapping into this on the thoughts in kitchen and bath on integrated toilets with bidet functionality and touchless faucets in kitchens and baths. And it says using digital technology for high performance for low flow showering, and thoughts of digital components kind of controlling all this like an Alexa. How are you seeing that integrated into homes? Are you starting to see more of that, or do you anticipate more and more of that to come?
Well, I have to say the integrated toilets are a hot commodity right now. Everybody wants them. But I haven't had much experience with the touchless faucets. I always find those kind of hard to use, but maybe they can design those a little bit better. Low flow showering is probably important. I don't like it. I don't know if you guys do, but I don't. And Alexa is actually a great idea. Less things to touch, less things to do, and you know, Alexa can take care of it.
I always think, though, you should buy technology that you're going to use. I think a lot of times we get excited about new technology and we want the latest and the greatest and the best. But if you're not a high technology person, I think at times we overbuy technology. We'd be okay with maybe what was last year, not necessarily this year. You know, if you're not someone who, let's say with your appliances, wants to program your oven, you know, for Beth's meatloaf, and you just want to turn your oven on, do you need the oven that has all the bells and whistles? And I always say to clients, often one is high tech and one isn't, and you've got to buy for the one that isn't, because they're always asking, they're always asking their partner how to use everything, and that doesn't feel very comfortable in your home.
It's nice to be, go ahead, Joan.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think that the day functionality in particular is just such a smart idea right now, with lids opening and closing, just, I mean, with all of our concerns about COVID and germs. And
yeah, 100%, I agree. It would be nice to have that a la carte menu of what's important to each of us. So maybe it's important to have smart technology, as Joan said, for waking up in the morning to the appropriate rays of the window treatments, but maybe you could care less whether or not you can turn, adjust your temperature remotely from somewhere else.
And it's got to be easy.
It has to be easy, and a lot of times I feel like they go hand in hand. You're either buying this whole package instead of, where you can run everything that way, and one just leads to the other. I miss the old days of just clicking on the TV.
Keep it simple. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's one other area that we didn't address, and that's physical activity. I don't know about all of you, but I have done less of it during COVID, not more of it. And I feel as though incorporating fitness into our homes, into our individual homes versus going elsewhere, for example, to a gym or a yoga studio or whatever, because they've all been closed down. We've had to find ways to stay physically active, and I think that's going to change. And maybe we're going to see more spaces that are dedicated to that, or can be multifunctional as well. But I think having our own space versus going elsewhere for physical activity is going to be big. Great
point. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk color. Do you guys think color preferences are going to change as the experience of impact with COVID? I think clients are going to request, is color always a personal preference for your clients, or do you think there's outside trends that influence that?
And
go ahead.
I don't think there's any color that is out of style or shouldn't be used. I think there's just colors of the moment that are overused. But I would think that people would still tend to go with neutral, calming colors. And then there's some people that are going to want happy homes. I always struggle with colors of the moment. No color is out of style.
I don't think it's trendy. I'm with you, Kim. I think some people like a very calm and neutral interiors, and other people that color invigorates them and it makes them happy.
Yeah.
We've had both types of clients. I don't think this pandemic has changed that, at least not that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect example is gray. I mean, gray got a bum rap because it was so overused. Gray is a neutral. Gray is a great color when used tastefully. But it was so overused that everyone is now gray, no gray, can't use gray. Well, you certainly can use gray in a tasteful way.
I do think we're going to see more color bringing the outside in.
I agree.
I agree. Totally agree.
100%.
Included. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's indicative of what we all see out of our windows. I think it'll be different for everyone based on what you've seen and what you're experiencing, because we have been stuck inside so much. So are you near a lake? It might be the colors that you're seeing outside at the lake. Are you in more of a dense forest area? You might love the greens and the browns because that's what you've been looking at. Are you someone who watches the sunsets and the sunrises? So I agree with you. I think more natural colors are in, but I have a question and I'd love your opinion of it. What do you think of white? I think, when I think of white, I think crisp and clean, right? And clean is the operative word here because it's kind of germ-free. So I'm wondering if with everything going on, we're going to see the use of white. How that's used, I don't know, but are we going to see more of it just because of that, that feeling that it's clean and germ-free? I don't know. Anybody else? Thoughts on that?
I think white means so many different things to so many different people. If your aesthetic is more modern, I think white looks one way, or if you're traditional, white looks a completely different way. But I don't think that people will go all white and clean. But how many times have you had people say, oh, I want a dark sofa so it hides things? Well, that's gross. Like, it's still going to get dirty. You're not going to see it, but it still gets dirty. So I feel like maybe there'll be some lightness added, but again, I think everybody is so different about what they want. I will say, Joan, you are crushing it with the bringing the outdoors indoors with the plant and the light, and
That's my sanity.
It's great. It's great. I think we all need a little bit of that.
So what are some or a few design fixes that we can implement now to make our homes a safer place for our families?
A couple things I've thought about, and what happens when you have to self-quarantine at home? Is there a way that you need to make your bedroom a little bit more versatile, or a bedroom or something? There's good internet in there. There's a TV in there. I think that's something going forward that we'll continue to do for the next year or so. So where is someone going to self-quarantine in your house? Also, another thing is, I know some people are uncomfortable having delivery people in their homes, having packages delivered. Is there a special place in your home, if you're not in an apartment building, where your packages are delivered? I mean, I think that's, an important thing to think about. And I think going back to what we talked about earlier, the antimicrobial fabrics and finishes and things like that would make your house a safer home.
Yeah, I really like that idea, Jessica, of what we've been calling a receiving room. So have a separate area, if it's in the city or if it's in a house, where dry cleaning can be left, where there's a refrigerator to drop off food, where you've got all those UPS packages and FedEx packages. So it's
Amazon.
Amazon.
That's self-contained.
You know what you see now? You see a lot of notes on people's doors saying, don't drop here, drop there. And I think design-wise going forward, we need to incorporate that into our design.
I think
So maybe that's changing the mudroom design?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Family home to incorporate, maybe mudrooms are going to get bigger in order to accommodate their,
Well, and kids won't be coming home dropping their backpacks. There's no more backpack drop-offs for a while, it seems like.
I think the other thing is just when we come in the front door too, what is that station? What do our own sanitation stations look like that have wipes and masks and gloves, and how do we design for that?
I don't know about you guys, but I have a cute little basket with all my masks, and I have the interior designer in there. I don't know if you guys do too, but you gotta make sure you take one every day. And
I have some that go with different outfits too. Why not?
I have a black one. It goes with everything.
There you go. There you go.
So in the midst of all this anxiety and stress, obviously, that this time is presenting, how do we make our homes inspiring? As Jessica just said, a basket for your mask, but how do we keep our homes inspiring and beautiful while still kind of dealing with this anxiety and stress of kind of the unknown and the changes that are kind of occurring? Kim, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I feel like if we all have something from the outside that we can take care of, it will help us. It helps us, whether it's a basil plant, whether you've decided to buy a plant of hydrangeas that you can nurse and take care of and then cut and display. And maybe that's just me because I like to make the home nice. Somebody else might be like, that's torture. I'll have a package of basil delivered. But to me, that's very calming to know that we have a little bit of control. And maybe I'm thinking more of people that live in the city or live in a high-rise building like I do. I don't have a garden, but I have a little control, and it calms me a little bit to know I can grow basil. I can still make pasta, and I can possibly have a blooming plant that I can make a centerpiece from. And that's
funny you should say that, Kim, because I just came back. I was in Florida. I got back a couple of weeks ago, and the first thing I did was go out to the florist. I bought plants, I bought flowers, I put them everywhere, and I'm nurturing my little topiaries in my kitchen, and it feels really good.
It feels good, yeah.
Joan, what were you going to say, Joan?
No, I've been giving some of my clients microgreen kits
Oh,
because
that's
some things are nice just on your kitchen counter.
That's
You know,
a
having
good
all with
idea.
microgreens.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
It feels good to take care of something.
Mhm.
It feels very good to take care of something, but it also feels bad when it dies too. So you have to take the good with the bad.
So funny. I never really took care of my plants before, but this
Me
time
neither.
I am. I'm changing the water and the cut flowers. I'm doing all these things I would never do because you'd go get some more, but now they feel more precious to me.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, it's funny.
So going back to the home office, Joan, you kind of touched on this earlier in terms of everybody needing their own space for the home office, but how do we create a home office that flows with the rest of the home and has that same look and feel to be integrated into the home?
You know, I'd say so much of it is just continuing the palette and the materials, but I think almost the more important thing is understanding how you work. Because some people really like to have a lot of horizontal surfaces to spread out. Other people don't like to see any signs of work. And so I think doing that analysis and sort of incorporating that into the rest of the home is really, really important.
Any other thoughts?
I actually asked a client who has 3 children that she is teaching at home because of school.
God bless her.
And that's what I said. I mean, I was happy she was able to even pick up the phone, but I said, what do you do? I mean, she has a 7th grader, a 5th grader, and a kindergarten child. And she said she took her dining room table and she ordered pads online, like protective pads. She has a file cabinet for each one. She put up a divider and she literally turned her dining room. People aren't just making home offices for themselves or their significant other. They're making home offices for their children, and who knows how long this will go for. I mean, and not everybody has all these extra rooms, but you know, we're always worried about not using our dining room. Here's another example. I thought the pads were a great idea. It wasn't damaging the table, and yeah.
Funny, those
Any other thoughts? We just got a live question just about that, Kim, actually, about how to make space for young children's school at home. Any other thoughts to that? Or how to integrate that portion?
Yeah, I mean, my own granddaughter, she has taken over the living room and dining room for different parts of her schedule in the day. So when kids are at home learning, yes, it's great when they have to do their computer work at the table, but to have different areas in the house that are different activities, when they do online yoga or online gym class, or to have that ability to create spaces all throughout your home. And we're assuming everybody has all these rooms. There's a lot of people that maybe only have, you know, a kitchen, a couple bedrooms, and one main activity room. So creating—
I love the fact that we're using that main activity room for so many things. I mean, instead of walking through the dining room's become a workspace. Instead of only using the living room when you're entertaining, it's where we do Pilates. I mean, it's really awesome.
And at what point was it March, or I think it was, at what point when you set this up initially, did you think it was very temporary? Remember, this was only going to happen till Easter. And then once Easter came, everything was going to be fine. At what point do we say, this is going to be a little permanent? We need to really put a little more effort into making this space work for longer. And I don't know what that answer is.
The other thing is, I think when you have kids in the house, you also have to think about technology a little bit differently. Like, you have enough, you know, internet for everyone to be on their laptops and somebody playing, you know, video games for 12 hours straight, or, you know, I mean, I think we have to take a look at technology and are we using it to its best advantage, and what do we need in different parts of the home? Because I think that's different as well.
Great.
Great. So let's move outdoors for a second, because that's another space and exterior design that we can leverage to kind of grow our space. And do you guys like to see that as an extension of the indoors, or do you see that as a completely different space and kind of an escape from the home? Susan, do you have any thoughts?
given us a new appreciation for the outdoors, to tell you the truth. I think we're really lucky to have it. Some of us have it in different, you know, different amounts. Sometimes it's a balcony, sometimes it's an outdoor space, but I think there's plenty to do there.
I like to look at it really as an extension of the inside, and I think it really should correlate to your surroundings and be indicative of the place that you live in. At least for me, I don't like, for example, to see a Mediterranean style home on the East Coast. I just think, what's the point of that? I like it to be a little bit more indicative of the surroundings and using indigenous elements that are part of your surroundings. So for me, I like the outdoors to come in, and I like the indoors to go out.
And I like it to happen at day and at night. I think one of the best things you can do is to buy some exterior lighting, so that you can really see the garden beyond and have that extension. It just adds a lot of drama at night instead of seeing flat.
And I think it's a geographical question. It depends where you live. And for example, in Arizona, every single first meeting starts with, how do we make our indoor outdoor space flow? It's everything. It's just a open landscape, inside to outside. In Chicago, it depends where you live. In the suburbs, it depends where you live. If you're in the suburbs and you have a sun porch, you can, for not a huge amount of money, add some heat in there, some radiator or some sort of heat in the ceilings you can add. And that gives you 3 seasons. Maybe you're not in there in the dead of winter, but all of a sudden that summer room gives you a couple more seasons, which is
I think you have to look at things you can do to your outdoor space to extend the life. Do you build a pergola or a roof over it? Or is there some kind of extra small structure on your property if you have a large property? Or can you enclose a sunroom now, or enclose a terrace, not typically on a high rise, but are there things you can do to extend the life of your outdoor space? I think heat lamps are a great idea.
Now for fire pit, a fire pit.
So awesome.
Yeah.
I had to laugh. Last night after dinner, my son said, I have to go do a little work. And I was looking around for him. I couldn't find him. And he was outside by the fire pit with his iPad. And I thought, I want to do this forever. I mean, it was really.
That is nice. That's so nice.
Well, that is the nice part of this. I think it's all brought us closer with our families.
It really has. It really
Without
has.
question. These are unique and special times.
They are special times. They are true. That is true.
So how do you guys approach exterior design in terms of what do you start with? Do you start with kind of the look and the feel and the needs of the client, or go into kind of the structures and how they want it built in the seasons first, or looking at product and look? How do you guys tackle that?
You mean for exterior design for gardens, or do you mean for the outside of a house, for instance?
Outside of a house.
Or outdoor seating areas.
Yeah.
I think you have to define different zones. And I think one of the questions too referred to lighting. I think it's important how you light the different zones. There needs to be lighting, ambient lighting for the whole space, and then doing lighting for the dining area, doing maybe different lighting for the play area, so you can use them at different times of the day, early and late.
And depending, if you have people over and you're entertaining, where is the sunset? So how do you light the area that you'll be having cocktails in during sunset versus after dinner where you'll be sitting that you maybe need more light? Because at that point it gets really dark at nighttime. But I think also, again, we struggle when people think of Arizona, for example. Florida everybody has their own colors, but Arizona's, people tend to think orange, dark brown, browns, all these sort of earth colors, warm earth colors. But if you really look out at the sky, you see tons of pinks and blues. And if you look closely and you can pick up on the actual colors that are outside in your surrounding, it becomes pretty clear what you need to do in terms of color outside.
I also think you have to determine, do you want to entertain outside? Do you want to relax and read outside? Do you want to garden? Do you want to have activities? Are you a family that plays bocce or badminton? Or, you know, I think you have to determine what activities you want to have out there and then design accordingly. Joan, like you said, is, you know, do you want a fire pit where you can have s'mores and gather around and tell stories? I think it really is. I think it's not a one size fits all. I think it's very dependent on who's living in the outdoors.
Susan, I also think you need to consider spaces. Some people don't have outdoors, and
Yes.
there's many things you can do to a balcony. I think they can be string lights. You could astroturf these days. I know it's corny, but there's actually good fake grass out there. There are things that you could do to your simple balcony that would make it more welcoming and more, I don't know, feeling comfortable and good.
Yeah, I would give anything for a balcony.
So would I. I don't have one. I would give.
I don't have one.
Put some flower pots out there. Something. It doesn't have to be a fire pit or a pool or outdoor dining. It can be simple too.
Everything. It
Be
means
just a little
something
chair and a
different.
table.
It really does. It means something different to everyone. What they're
There's so many good indoor outdoor rugs that you could put out there. Forget the astroturf and cut it down to size, or there's some simple fixes you could do on a dime.
Yeah.
Great. So I have a couple of wrap-up questions here that I'd like to hear from all of you, and then we have some great questions flowing in here that I want to get to. So first, what have you guys learned by taking a pause that will inspire your work post-COVID? Any kind of takeaways that you think will carry with you?
It's a question at our Monday morning meetings as an office that we all discuss, weekly, because I feel like we keep learning new things in terms of how we communicate with our clients, how we put together samples, drawings, how we, work with engineers and other architects and designers. I don't think we'll ever go back to working the way that we did originally. And there's so many tools that we've picked up in terms of how to communicate remotely. I find it hard to believe most of us will be in the office on Fridays ever again. I mean, it's just.
Agreed. Yeah. We have always had summer Fridays. I think it's going to be forever Fridays now.
We've had half day Fridays. Now we have full day Fridays.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be a way of life. I think for us, the one thing that our takeaway from this is, and all of you can understand this, but people put so much trust in us, and we get very hung up in getting it done, getting it presented, I think because of all the time we're spending in our home and all the time the people that we know and our clients are spending in their home, there's a true appreciation, and we have to do the best that we can to listen to what people are saying. And I don't think we'll ever go back to let's get it done, we're so busy, we're running around like crazy. Like, it truly becomes an interactive sport with our clients. We always say that's what it is, and that's always our best intention, but you get busy. And I think that stopping, taking the time, and really focusing on everything that we do, that is the biggest takeaway that we've been talking about.
And leading from there, I think you're talking about being a little bit more introspective, and I know that this pause has made me more introspective and my team as well, and I'm wondering how I can do more. We all work with clientele that is absolutely lovely, and they have the means to bring us on board to help them make their house a home. But I think everyone needs a home, and I know what this has done for me is that I like to help others. I want to get involved, and I haven't figured out yet where, but I really want to get involved with a not-for-profit that has to do more with helping others make a home for themselves that may not have been able to, for example, have brought me or my team on board, or any of you. I'd like to sort of help with the democracy of design and get involved in other ways just beyond the current clientele. And that came from my taking this pause and really thinking through that. So if anyone has ideas, or let me know.
I think what I've learned through all this is to be more patient with people.
Yes.
Everyone has been processing this differently. We all have a different view. Some people take it more seriously than others. And at first, you know, I had my opinions and I wasn't sure I was respecting theirs, but, you know, we all have to, you know, process this ourselves. I think I've learned to be less judgmental, which I think is important, especially with our clients, and, you know, work as hard as we can. These are tough times. There are not a lot of jobs out there. Our world has changed. So whatever service I can give to my clients, I think is really important right now. I'll bend over backwards to do whatever they want from me and, you know, be understanding. And I think the other thing, a little bit to what you were saying, Susan, is we need to give back.
Yeah.
We are in a bubble. I'm sure most of the people, not all, but I'm sure a lot of people on this, we're in a very luxury world and market. And if you know someone needs some help, you know, do that simple thing. I was in a taxi the other day and the guy was talking to me, and, you know, taxi drivers are having a hard time. You know, I gave him an extra large tip, and it made him so happy. It made me happy. So we got to keep giving back and helping people that are less fortunate than us through design or through whatever we can do. I think we've learned all that through this. So be understanding, be patient, be less judgmental.
Be grateful.
Yep, grateful.
100%. 100%. And be sympathetic. When people say that they really want a recliner, it means a lot to them. They want a recliner. What are you going to
talk them out of that recliner? Just give them the recliner.
There's some good ones out there now. It's okay.
You know, so much of it is it's comfort in
Right.
every sense of the word.
We have to lower our standards a little bit.
Right.
Finding comfort and being comfortable.
Right. And I think we get hung up on how things look, and we're so worried. But at the end of the day, we step away and they are left now 24/7 in their home. They deserve to have comfortable things. And it's our job to find the most tasteful way to give them those comfortable recliners.
And I think that goes full circle to earlier on when I said that I don't think perfect is possible.
No.
I think it's something we've always as designers sort of aspired to, right? That we're going to keep going until it's just perfect. But now, even living in my own home 24/7, I don't want perfect. I want it to fit me. I want it to adjust to what my needs are, what my mood is. We talked about flexibility and adaptability, and I think that's going to continue to stay with us, and that we're going to have to be fluid as much as our clients are, and realize that it may not change day to day, but it may change month to month. And that's okay. And so we can't attain this perfection and live in our homes just as they are, you know?
Great, thank you, ladies. So I want to dive into some of these questions. So in the luxury market for the tech-savvy customer, what is the thinking regarding sustainability?
You know, it's interesting because sustainability was such a focus in our industry. Not that it isn't anymore, but I think it's something that we all try to learn as much about as we can and practice, and our clients are very interested in. But it's been eclipsed by wellness. I mean, wellness is really the issue that I think is front and center with everybody's mind right now.
I think that word might change to wellness versus sustainability, but
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So tapping into that, the next question is, if you could invest one thing in your homes from a wellness perspective, what would you advise?
I would try looking into the new HVAC systems. Whatever that is exactly, I don't know, but I know there's all sorts of great things out there.
You used to have your vents cleaned, what, twice a year, however many times a year. Now you're saying, Jessica, there's
I think they're new air systems that are better than having your vents cleaned. I think they're air filters, air filtration systems, or something like that. And I can't tell you what they are. I've been reading about them. I know people are asking about them, but I think that would be a good investment.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the planes. I mean, the planes research, I mean, they have a great air filtration system on their planes, from what I understand. Mm-hmm. It gets cleaned every time it gets circulated. I'm not sure our air in our homes gets cleaned every time it's circulated.
And then it's monitored as well. That's
right.
The thing. It's funny when I think about it personally. When I think about wellness, I think about mental health, and I think about music. I mean, the first thing I think about, what can lift my mood more than anything? So it's a little bit of a stretch, but when I think about wellness, I think about putting in a great sound system that would just make me feel great.
Yeah. And even if you can't put in that sound system, you can invest in one of those speakers that you get at Apple. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Sonos system. You can put a Sonos system around.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I think mine would be outdoor space, since I don't have it. Find a way to create it, and we've all talked about ways to do that within your home. I just know that I've been craving it, and so any way that you can bring the outdoors in, I think, is fabulous.
And just open a window. Open a window,
right.
Let some fresh air in your house. That there's nothing like the smell of. I hadn't been in my apartment in Chicago here for a couple of weeks, and I walked in and I was like, oh, it smells like air conditioning. It just was like, just open the windows and let some air in. I think we all just get accustomed to it and used to that sort of smell of climate control.
So lots of questions in here about the kitchen, and as our behaviors have changed, and we've started ordering food or groceries, once or twice a week, or, every 2 weeks. We need more storage and food storage. And how are you guys seeing that changing? And are you seeing, or will you believe that you'll see, multiple refrigerators or freezers in kitchens and expansions? A lot of us have that extra space in the basement, but not necessarily built into our kitchens, those extra refrigerators and stuff. So any thoughts on kitchen design?
I think it's always going to be the main part of the house, and sure, is there going to be more refrigeration and things like that? I'm sure, but I haven't seen any big changes, to be honest, or any special appliances or anything that might make our lives easier. I don't know, have you girls at all?
I think that the refrigerator drawers are always great because we use less and less pantry or dry goods space. So because everybody has things that are fresh. So anytime you can take a little cabinet space away and put in some refrigerator drawers, I think it's not the days when you bought all these canned goods. Now you're buying fresh things that you need to store.
We have a few clients who recently asked for double islands because and I think a lot of it has to do with their older kids have come home, and so everybody's cutting and chopping and hanging out together and having a glass of wine as they're making dinner, and they want more space where people can circulate and work together in cooking, which is great.
And I'm wondering if we're going to see desks come back to kitchens with more kids studying at home or doing more homework, if not at home for schooling, at least homework. We took out so many desks in kitchens for so long, but now I'm wondering if they might come back simply as another little spot, as a getaway for at least one child to work at and still be present around mom and dad during dinner time, lunchtime, whatever that is. I don't know. It's just, it could happen as we're looking for more spots for our kids. I also think it goes to, the other thing I wanted to bring up is in regards to the kitchens and family time and prepping of food. I'm thinking we might see dining rooms come back more than they have in the past. I know many people are using them as an office space, but I mean, we're all spending more time with our families, and I don't know about you, but I'm cooking more than I have in years and loving it. But then after you cook, where do you sit? And if you don't have a lot of space, or you'll go to your dining room if you don't have a breakfast table in your kitchen. So maybe we'll see dining rooms come back in a bigger way than they have in the past. Because a lot of times, I think someone mentioned they kind of become pass-through spaces, or we use them 2 or 3 times a year for big family events or holidays, but the rest of the time they sort of sit there. And I think they're being used a lot more.
So maybe, Susan, something like dining libraries. I always love those where you have a media center and you've got your dining table to work or to eat.
Yeah.
So the room's really working for you.
Right, right.
I think the other thing I'm going to need, not in my kitchen, but a bigger closet. We've all been ordering more tops online for all our Zoom calls. My top wardrobe has really expanded, so I think we have to think about that, ladies, right?
Exactly.
Or at least
We're all
better
shopping on Amazon and Target and all those places.
So true.
So we talked about kids. What's the other, the kind of spectrum, and what's your thinking about aging in place and creating ADA-friendly design?
So important.
The closer I get to that age, the more I think about it.
Blocking in your showers for bars, you know, even if you're in your 30s or 40s redoing a home, we always think about that. Curbless showers, things like that.
And a place for caregivers that can stay with people whether it's, you know, a hip replacement, a knee replacement, somebody that comes in to stay with you, because you're not going to rehab centers like we used to.
Sure.
I don't think this is a COVID issue. I think this is an issue that's always been at the top of our list.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But your idea, that's interesting. You should say that, because people aren't going to rehab places. They don't want to, or they don't want to go to nursing homes. We had a client up in Lake Forest that built an extension to their home just so they wouldn't have to age gracefully in a retirement home. They wanted to stay at their home. So we designed everything around. So they built a very small addition to their home. And more so even in this COVID time, that this is a really great thing the more I think about it.
It really is. It really
You don't want to go to a retirement home or a community or something. Sometimes it's better to stay at home if you're compromised in some way.
Well, and if you have that that mindset to prepare for your kids, that's great, so that they're not worrying about you.
Right.
So a couple questions about outdoor again. Thoughts about outdoor kitchens. And then I'll also tag this in as a combo question here is, what types of materials do you like to use in outdoor furniture, and what's best recommended for the Midwest?
Good question. Outdoor furniture, I don't think there are any, I mean, for example, I've been in Florida a lot and there are huge issues with outdoor furniture there. Salt air and things like that. But the Midwest, I mean, it depends. Are you going to bring it inside? Are you going to cover it during the winter? I mean, is it wood? I mean, what your goals are. I think we'd recommend different things if it's not going to be put into storage or not covered, or different types of furniture for different types of needs, I guess. I don't think there's one particular brand or material that's better than the other. I think it's just a matter of how it's going to be cared for. Do you all agree?
I think it needs to be sturdy for all of our winds.
Yeah, is it going on a balcony? It needs to be weighted if it's on a balcony. Is it in a backyard? Is it, you know, I think depends where it is.
So I just learned about, not to give a plug to a company, but I just learned about something I didn't know anything about. I don't know if you all do. I was talking to Sealmaster, and they will pick up your outdoor cushions at the end of the year, clean them, and then store them for those of us who don't have a huge amount of space.
That's a great.
I did not know that.
I didn't either.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So again, like you said, it depends where you live. In Arizona, the biggest problem is you can't leave cushions out because animals go and live inside of them. I know, it's so gross. And then in the winter, of course, with the winters that we have, every manufacturer will tell you that they're good for all seasons, no matter where you live, it's fine. But if you're not going to have something in Arizona and Florida that you're going to put your arm on metal and burn yourself, but you're also not going to have in this dry weather in Arizona teak wood that you have to oil at least twice a year because of the damaging rays. So
whereas in Chicago, that does well.
Right. So the geographical location matters so much in your outdoor furniture and where you live. I love that tip though about Sealmaster. That's awesome.
Yeah. Fabulous. Thank you, Joan.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Well, ladies, we're out of time for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing all of your great insight with us this evening.